Hi guys, how are you today? 4th January 2025 nakuzo mwezi nya omwezi ogwagato nya 2025. This is the first car weekly roundup of 2025 and we have a lot of things to cover. Of course, a lot of bad news. You know, bad news travels faster than good news, but we also have some good news. We also have some interesting news, and also we are going to have someone, a guest, to tell us about taxation, to tell us about business, to tell us about finance, and just stay tuned, watch till the end to see what I have in store for you. And of course, we have the comparison, we have the weekly tip, and all that. I'll make you feel nice. After that, I'll take you to... But let's go into the news. First of all, with the local news, we have a lot of bad news locally. A lot of bad news. We lost the Budaka deputy RDC in a road accident. And of course, Daily Monitor journalist Resale Kasasira also died in an accident. And then we had an accident in Chenjojo. And then there was an accident of the Uganda Ginger Highway. And then, of course, police decided to start a campaign to curb road accidents. So we literally have only bad news in Uganda. And of course, then Uganda is going into oil exploration, but that's something we'll cover next Saturday. But let's get into it. The Budaka deputy RDC, who is also called Nusura Nabukaru, died in a fatal accident along the Ginger Iganga Highway. This was a collision. It was a collision when her vehicle collided with a truck that was when she was returning from a function. And so normally when accidents that involve government officials and other vehicles happen, you need to understand it's normally it's the government vehicles that are to blame. And this is probably something for the government officials and their drivers and their security personnel to take. Mujja kufa. Yes, nafa abantu ba bulijjo tufa. Naye mujja kufa. And you know, whenever we hear we hear of an accident where a government vehicle has been involved, tetusasira nnyo omuntu wa government because tuba tukimanya abadde avuga bubi. You guys, I be driving on the road and the government vehicle comes and it literally drives you off the road. Okitegeera. So may God rest her soul. It's not good what happened, and that happened on 30th December. May God rest her soul. And we would not wish for anyone to die. Yeah, and we all know that for someone to become a deputy RDC, yeah, they have done a lot. Okufuka RDC mu ggwanga muno. Ebintu byoba okoze, you have stepped on toes for you to get to that position, yeah? So she worked really hard to get to that position, and the fact that she dies when she has recently been given the position, it's really sad. May God strengthen her family and may her soul rest in peace. But for the government officials that are still alive, please, you're also human, yeah? You're also human. Stop driving us off the road. Otherwise, it's you'll get to a place where you can't drive that person off the road, because now you can imagine you cannot drive a truck off the road. Kateba driver by NPC and but driver bamwe ajale tabulesi bavuga nga bana abasajja bavuga ente abayana, they drive really badly. But may God rest her soul. And then, of course, sad news in the news world, in the media world. Kasasira Risdale, he has been a long time serving journalist, yeah, ku Daily Monitor. He still died in a road accident. They were coming from the village, yeah. Baba de baliko kashaga Marianto on the road. The wife was driving and she lost control of the car, and then the car overturned, and he's the only one that died. The wife and the children are still safe. Thanks be to God. May his soul rest in peace. Now, guys, I know our wives know how to drive and all, but when we are on a highway, nga mukyala wo olumu yakayiga obanga abaddako olumu akugamba tayagala kuvuga, guys, drive. I've recently realized that we as men love to drive more than women, and we are more stable on the road. Yeah, they are stable definitely, but there is a reason why dignitaries like the president are driven mostly by men. Yeah, because we are more stable on the road. So when you're driving long distances, please bobo sober, let the wife drive, let her rest, and then you drive. Yeah, so when you're doing long distances, me, I let my wife drive, but occasionally when she tells me, like, I let her drive the other time, she drove she drove to town, and then going back she started saying zenko yenako yenavuze nnyo. Like you can imagine me, I drive them every day back and forth, and I never complain of being tired, yeah. But she said I'm really tired, and I forced her to drive. And I think after seeing the news of the late resale, I'm not going to do that again. So I'll have to drive whenever she says she's tired. So guys, let's take it, and may God rest resale in peace, and may he also strengthen the family of this gentleman. And then of course this happened on 1st January, and then on 2nd January on Iganga Highway, a taxi and a fuso truck that was stationary. These accidents are too common, and the taxi was new. UBP, for my friends here on the channel that have taxis, yeah, tell your drivers to drive carefully, and hopefully we never get accidents like this. We have so far not gotten an accident. We get those mechanical issues, but we don't get accidents. So a taxi crashed into a stationary truck, yeah, a fuso truck which had a problem, and 7 people died. 6 people died on the spot there and then ababadde mu kigege because it was really strong, and then the 7th person died wabadde bamutwala mu ddwaliro. So guys, when you're driving, especially this especially happens in Iganga Jinja because of the trucks that drive sugarcane, and sometimes the trucks that go out of the country, yeah, zimanyi okufuna mechanical problems and they park on the road. I think this is one thing that we need to pay attention to a lot. Pay attention to this thing, because ojja kutomera motoka, the lorry will not get a problem, and it's there legally because there are certain hours that you are given when your car breaks down. In town, you're given 2 hours. You can have your car fixed on the road. After 2 hours, it's towed. Kate mu kyalo, you're given more. You're given a lot of time. So the truck definitely has no problem. And some of these trucks, they cannot move. Like if it ran out of gas, braking power, it has to stop there. That's what happens when a truck, like a trailer, runs out of gas or braking power. Breakdown. So please be careful, especially the people that have not yet come back from the village. Please be careful. Otherwise, we don't want to lose people like we lost these 7 people. May God rest their soul. And then, of course, the police started a campaign to try and get us to drive properly, because according to the report that came January, December, indicates that 97% of the accidents that we have had during the Christmas period, yeah, are due to human error. It's us, fatal-related accident says, it's not because of the car, it's not because, like you see how I've said, your madam is tired, don't let them drive. You get it? Or probably your madam is not so stable. Highway. So some of these things are due to human error, like the Chigege guy, the UPP guy that crashed into a truck. He could have gone slower, but he went faster. Like the deputy RDC, may God rest her soul. It's because the driver is not patient enough. They overtake. You get it? Most of the accidents, by the way, that we have in Uganda are due to human error, even the border accidents. So the police has an initiative to try and curb on that. Yeah, so if you see the police trying to educate you, please listen. You people pretend that you know. Now you don't know. May God rest their soul. So as of December 2024, the government has given us a grace period of 2 years to make sure we get the new digital number plates. Now, for the guys that don't know what the digital number plates are, the government intends to track all of us to see where our cars are going. So they are bringing new number plates that can help the government track you. So the number plates are going to change, and even if you have like a UBB, you are obligated in the next 2 years to make sure you go to Ministry of Works and get the new digital number plate. And of course, as we speak, 2,143 government vehicles had already gotten the new digital number plates, and about 11,721 new motorcycles, because katipateka kumpya empya teri efuluma mu pichipichi nga tefunye digital number plate, just like that. And then of course now they're also rolling out that with the new cars. Hopefully nange mukama bwanaba nkwatideko n'engula y'akamotoka akalala kajja kujja ne digital number plate. Internationally, Mercedes-Benz achieved level 3 autonomous driving. Yes, in Japan. Do you know what level 3 means? Do you know what level 3? Autonomous driving, when they say a car is driving autonomously, and level 3 means I can be driving and I engage automatic driving and the car drives itself and I go on my phone. That's level 3. Now, normally autonomous driving doesn't, like in Uganda, that would never happen. Where is the car going to drive itself? Impossible Express. But in certain countries, like in Germany, it happens. Like they approve, but it's the government to approve that, you know what, your car now can do autonomous driving, and they give them levels. Now Mercedes-Benz achieved level 3 in Japan. It means you can go on a year. Of course, now it needs you to intervene when it's needed. Naye esobola okubaako ne jam driving assist, engobera mu traffic jam, but they achieved that, and I don't think we have a car that can drive itself here. Ebe genda kutomera abantu ebamalewo. Jukira abantu ambatono nnyo moroke bategenda mulabanga mutono ite mulabanga muti. I used to work with a chick, and we used to call her Magumba because she was too tiny. But surprisingly, ngali ku demand. Ngabana bali bagala kwekuba. But ngafe tumuita Magumba, she was too small. Ate surprisingly obwalo obutono bote bufayo nga tubuyise Magumba. Naye bana abanene bano bebagala nnyo rights mbu simanya tuyite chabe, simanya tuyite chi. So anyway, but Mercedes-Benz achieved level 3, and that's good. That's good for people that like if you are going to Kabale and you're tired, you just engage it. But of course now here, even if you bought a Mercedes-Benz that has those capabilities, please don't engage them here. Otherwise you're going to die. Like those Mercedes-Benzes were not made to interpret potholes. Of course, we will do a video specifically on that. But that's good news on the Mercedes-Benz front. And then of course, Osamu Suzuki. Yeah, the guy that made Suzuki what it is today died exactly on Christmas Day. But let me come back to that. Let's first go back to the guys that Toyota that is developing a solid state battery. You guys already know solid state hard drives, yeah? Solid state drives. Remember, we used to have HDDs. Now we have SSDs. Now Toyota is making SSBs, solid state batteries. Now currently we have lithium ion batteries. It's the most modern one. Yeah. Some of the Priuses and some of the older cars, they have another technology that I don't even want to mention now, because you should not buy a car that has it. But lithium ion batteries are what are in most of your Aquas, the Priuses, the RAV4 hybrids. But now they are trying to develop solid state batteries. Now, why are they developing solid state batteries? Because solid state batteries are solid, like you see how I think the SSDs. You guys have seen SSDs. SSDs are small as RAM chips. So that's what they're developing in the batteries. So the lithium ion batteries have liquid gel, but the solid state batteries will be solid. How you would have this phone, it's solid. Why are they making these batteries? These batteries, of course, they're more expensive to make, which is why they don't have them yet. But these batteries will live longer, they discharge less, and they don't have the risk of, you see how they started saying that the Tesla went into flames because of the batteries? No. Now, the solid state batteries have no chance of ever catching fire. And then the solid state batteries will work better in all weather conditions. Whether it's too hot, too cold, the solid state drives are much better. But they are more expensive. Definitely the cars that come with solid state will be much more expensive than the lithium ion ones, but they will be much better. Now, the lithium ion batteries were replacing the nickel metal hydride batteries. Now, some of you guys that are driving 2010 or cars that are hybrids that are below, they have nickel metal hydride batteries. Now, the nickel metal hybrid the nickel metal hydride batteries, NIMH. Yeah. Now, if you're driving some of the Priuses, generation 2010, 2015, they have those batteries. Yeah. Now, those batteries, they have a capacity of 1.3 kilowatts. They are being replaced by lithium ion batteries, which have 4.4 kilowatts. 4.4 kilowatts. And now, the nickel metal hydride batteries are put under the seats. Now, that's most of the Priuses that you guys are driving, right? Yet the lithium ion are put in the rear cargo area. Now, if you're buying a Prius or any other hybrid today, try as much as possible to make sure that you buy the lithium ion one, because the lithium ion battery has a bigger capacity and also it will last longer in your car. Yeah, definitely the car will be much more expensive than the nickel metal hydride battery. Now, what are these guys making now? These guys now are making the solid state batteries. Solid state batteries are like the solid state drives. Hard drive obulinga chip, RAM chips. Yeah. So you realize that for the guys that have been having laptops in HDD or hard drives, you realize that the laptop will be slower, the laptop will be freezing. Also the hard drives can crash anytime. In a laptop yobo jisura bot. This one has a SSD. So now what does happen with the HDD? The HDD definitely has like particles in there. Nekanuka SSD kali very portable, kali nga RAM chip. And because it's like RAM chip, it can't get damaged very easily. Ekitariko hard drive, computer yagwanga hard drive ne crashing. With the SSDs, they don't crash. That's the same thing with the solid state batteries. That's what Toyota is coming up with. And hopefully in like 2026, probably we can get to see the solid state batteries in their hybrids or the EVs that are coming. And I'm sure even Tesla is doing. And then of course, internationally also, Tesla surpassed, you know, quarters. Companies divide their working periods or their financial periods in quarters. Quarter 4 runs from September, November, December. 4 months. No, 3. October, November, December. Those are the 3 these quarters. And what Tesla achieved is they sold 570,000 units in the last quarter of 2024, 30% more than what they did in 2023. Now they're attributing this to the Model Y. Now, why is the Model Y on demand? Because the Model Y is the EV by Tesla, and the Model Y has frunk. That's the trunk in front. It has a trunk, and then the Model Y also comes with extra space. So it takes more people. The batteries give you a very big range. I think more than 300 miles per charge. And then so I find that like so many people are driving it, not only for family, but even guys that do Uber, even car hire companies, they also buy the Model Ys. Of course, Teslas are not cheap, but the fact that they hit their targets, that's good. But you know that it could also be attributed to the fact that right now, Tesla CEO is, of course, is in the favor of Donald Trump and all that. So there are so many people that are buying those cars because of that. I know there are people that have benefited a lot from association with Chaguranyi, so they get more business and all that. And of course, I know there are people that have also benefited from being close to the incumbent, Yoweri Museveni, the president of Uganda. Yeah, because they're all President Chaguranyi, President Museveni. So whichever president you associate with, business can either be good or bad. You get. So you all benefit. Like one of my guys here is the incumbent supporter. He gets business still. And then the other one also on this other side, and I'm being honest, this other side is a Chaguranyi person. He also benefits. You get it? Now this one, like he's always like giving us a NGD. This one is always also giving us a NGD. So now you choose. Are you going this side or this side? This one is, yeah. I'll make you want me, make you want me, make you want me. I'll make you. And then, of course, in Ethiopia, according to the Scottish Sun, that's a newspaper, by the way, 71 people died after a bus got an accident, and it was overloaded. Yeah, so the bus plunged into a river. Really sad. 71 people is a lot of people. Yeah. So there were guests that were at a wedding, and you guys have seen at weddings, at kwanjulas, at football matches, you guys overload yourselves in cars. It's dangerous. Me, sometimes I don't come to your functions. It's because I don't have transport money. You people get annoyed. So, but anyway, 71 people died. The bus was reportedly overloaded, and the crash occurred in the mountainous region of the country known for its challenging road conditions. Authorities, of course, like always, are investigating the cause of the accident, with the initial report suggesting that the bus may have lost control due to poor weather conditions and overcrowding. So the incident sparked outrage, like it would do the same in Uganda, because the police, apparently their traffic police, does not enforce the law. People don't respect the law. Like here, I think even here we are waiting to get something that bad, so that then the police will take things seriously. And then, of course, it's sad news for the Suzuki family, the guys that love Suzuki Swifts, Suzuki Samurai, Suzuki Jimny, and then the Suzuki motorcycles, of course. It's sad. The guy that made Suzuki what you guys love today, he's called Osamu Suzuki, died at 94 on Christmas, the 2024, on the 25th. And, of course, he was 94. Yeah, what do you expect? Yeah, but may God rest his soul. So he built Suzuki into a Japanese global brand, making small vehicles and motorcycles. Yeah, he entered the Indian market in the 1980s. Yeah, and then he was a huge success. Yeah, and then of course he under his leadership Suzuki grew from a relatively small company that was making less than let's say annually making less than $3 billion. Natukanga bakola $30 billion okitegeera. So they really grew. And then but he wasn't always a Suzuki, by the way. This guy got his success. He was working at a bank. He was a lawyer working at a bank, humble bank. Then he met his wife. So this is how life-changing meeting the wife can be. So he met his wife, who was part of the family. He was a member of the family, the Suzuki family. We are making cars, the auto-making family, Suzuki. So when he married his wife, he decided to take on the wife's name. So you guys, Techigana, if you go and marry a Museveni, you can change, become Sekatawa Museveni. If you go and marry in a Kyagulanyi family, you become Sekatawa Kyagulanyi. Na mukazi wo ye Kyagulanyi, nofuuka Kyagulanyi. If you go and marry in the Besigye family, nofuuka Hassan Besigye. It doesn't kill. Like this guy took on the family name and then he became president of the family, and in the 1980s grew. How did he grow? He focused on making the small vehicles and motorcycles. And then that's why and of course, you know, their small cars are also fairly good. They don't make those big cars. So they continue to make small cars and the motorcycles. Yeah, and then around 2006, he stepped down from being president and then he became chairman. Abeda chairman wanga wa board, yeah? Overall make decision making. When the president abeda under the chairman. So then he became chairman, and then in 2021, stepped down as chairman, Nasigaranga senior advisor. Yeah, and then of course when you build a company, it's successful. Then you put systems in place and all stuff like that. Then you can step back and then systems take charge. Yeah, so that's what happened to Suzuki. But of course, you guys already know Suzuki and Toyota are now in a partnership where they make cars together. You already know the 2021 study is actually a Suzuki. You get, and then the new Rumion is actually a Suzuki, or the Suzuki is a Rumion, and stuff like that. So that's what's happening there, and may God rest his soul. And now we have someone with us here in this Car Weekly Roundup to enable us, then definitely you need to know some of these things. So this is why we have someone special here to help us maneuver the financial world so that we can drive the cars we love without getting in the wrong hands, without being at loggerheads with government, being at loggerheads with URA, being at loggerheads with our own lives. Abantu banji baguze motoka na atuka ne mfukire. I'm going to tell you a story in the live broadcast later. So here we have this lady. She's called Justin Nalubega with a double N. She's a consultant in tax, finance, accounting. Maybe Tugambe, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Arthur, for having me on this podcast. Our viewers, we are very delighted to be here, and I'm here to really handle and sort all your questions that you have in regards to tax, in regards to accounting. I've seen that people have asked about auditing, and as well as finance and budgeting. So,
So, what is the difference between accounting and auditing?
Accounting is more of record keeping, ensure that we have our records and our numbers in order as the organizations. It comes with ensuring that we keep proper records. There are those that have systems to ensure that what is in the records is entered into the systems, which helps us to generate what we call financial reports at the end of the financial year that shows us how we have performed over time. Yet auditing is a process that helps us to confirm to confirm if the figures that we have in these financials are true and a fair representation of the activities that have happened in the financial year.
So accounting is like counting?
Yes, accounting is basically the process of putting the numbers together. Auditing is a process of confirming.
So auditing is when you don't trust someone?
It's not really. You see, in auditing, there is what they call professional skepticism. There is always room to. It's always good to assume that
they are stealing.
Not really stealing, but the figures might not be the way they are, because I mean organizations struggle with compliance here and there, and that is why the auditing function is actually important to confirm that we don't have misappropriation of resources, to ensure that the processes are being adhered to as they ought to be.
So if I'm in charge of a company and they tell me auditors are coming, should I run? Should I be scared? Should I bribe? What should I do?
Of course, if you haven't been doing what you're supposed to do, you should run. Because you see, auditors have, like I said, the professional skepticism is something that helps them. Immediately they look at your information, they're able to tell that there is a problem here.
What should I run for? When I've stolen some money, when I've not paid some taxes, or when I've made a mistake?
It's all around, because it looks at how the organization is really complying with the regulatory authorities. If your taxes are being filed in time, if your NSSF is being paid in time, if we look at the figures, do they tally with the percentages that we are supposed to adhere to? So it looks at your compliance with the external bodies and also your compliance with the internal controls of the organization.
Can I skip and can I win an audit? Like they send me an audit
and unfortunately, yes, if you've played your game well, if you have your records, your support documents that can support the information that you have, yes.
What if I just have Gamba Nogu?
Unfortunately, the beauty why it's important, organizations have what they call internal auditors,
yes,
and then they have external auditors. And why, irrespective of having internal auditors, why organizations go for external auditors, because there has to be a party that is independent, where we don't have conflict of interest. You understand?
Yeah.
To ascertain the
authenticity, yes,
of the figures that are being presented to management.
So auditors and accountants, are they different? Or one is bigger than the other? Or they are the same?
I wouldn't want to say they are the same, because all these come with a given kind of competence, because you could find someone who is because with audit, but there are policies that they are supposed to follow, as well as accountants. You get yes, some of them cut across, but there are things that work with accounting, and there are things that work with auditors that may. Oh yes, there are accountants that end up being auditors, and good auditors actually start by being accountants, because then they know how the figures work. Yes, it's very unlikely that when someone from audit, if they have not gone through this line, they might not understand. Yes, so usually a good auditor has an accounting background, because if you've started with doing the process and then you cross over to the other side, then when you see the information, you're able to tell that whether the organization is compliant or it's not being compliant.
So it's like a turn boy and a driver.
Yes, or if there is fraud or not.
Oh, Mulamik, I hope your question was answered properly. Then we have another question here. This comes from Kaiwa Benjamin. He's asking, what are the tax implications of those involved in a partnership?
Well, a partnership in itself,
like how you guys do with accounting, yeah?
Yes, because you see, when people come to do a partnership, it means they have put resources together.
Yes.
And what we expect at the end of the period is the share of the profits that we have made as a partnership. So a partnership in itself is not liable to tax. However, you are supposed to fulfill the fact of filing. The taxation comes in from the declarations of the different partners of the income that they have derived from the partnership.
Wait, so if I create a partnership with you, and we bring money together, the partnership in itself doesn't pay tax.
The partnership in itself doesn't pay tax. Reason being, when we do the partnership and the business, the partnership, because the profits are supposed to be shared by the partnership.
Yes.
So once the income, the revenue has been made minus the the operations, then what is remains is what is now shared by the partners. So what is shared the partners is subjected to tax from the partners themselves.
like I pay my own share of the tax, you pay your own.
Exactly.
But what happens if a partnership is like a business that it survives for like 5 to 10 years and they make revenue for, let's say, 100 million, 150, which gets a business liable to VAT? What happens then?
Now, depending on how the business is operating, of course, now VAT is a different kind of tax. Really. It's different from income tax.
Yes.
Because this is, I mean, you generate this on a monthly basis and you file it the way it is.
Yeah.
It does not really comply to the sharing. It's supposed to be submitted the way it is supposed to be. The 18%, because it's being generated from the overall business, from the overall revenue and from the business activities.
So let's say,
so we ought to submit it the way it is.
Let me just cut you there and say, I have created a partnership with you.
Yes.
And we have not registered the company. It's just Arthur and Justin doing business. Yes. But then we generate 100 million, 200 million with that. And it's not registered as a company. So URA cannot come to me and say, come to us and say, you guys, you have not paid VAT. Because technically, the business doesn't.
Well,
how do we do that?
Irrespective of whether because you see, business operates in different ways. We have where we have a sole proprietorship.
Yes.
We have where we have, the corporations that we see limited by shares.
Yes.
And then we have the partnership. The 150% really, it applies whether you're a sole proprietorship, whether you're a partnership, whether you are a corporation, as long as, because that is a threshold.
Yeah, but
according to the.
But then the issue is,
yes,
a partnership doesn't have a TIN, an independent TIN, and you can only pay VAT through a TIN.
Actually, I think I know someone who has a partnership, and that partnership has a TIN.
Are you sure?
Yes. They started. It was incorporated under a partnership act.
What if we don't incorporate?
If you've not
incorporated, because I'm sure this guy, I'm sure he has not incorporated.
So if he's not incorporated, this is where it gets us to the sharing of the profits being subjected to tax under the different individuals and not the partnership.
Then
I don't know if you got that.
Yes. But then the VAT. So
now
we just VAT, keep quiet about
because
that.
if you're not registered
for VAT,
if you're not because
quote. If you're
not registered for taxes, it means we might not have a leeway. You
guys get that?
But if we have a tax identifier that we can always track against this particular business, and we are seeing that this partnership, it has submitted its returns, and this is how it's operating, then that changes the narrative.
So, but Okay, I think you have been answered, Benjamin. So let's look at another question here, and this is from Chris Fitness Duburwa. He's asking, how do people that are living and working abroad, talk about filing their returns, the guys that work from abroad?
Well, residents, we have people are classified under residents and non-residents. So if you are if you are an individual who is a resident, it means that you have a TIN that has been registered here in Uganda. However, you have income that you're earning from abroad.
Country,
They're actually supposed to declare that revenue here in Uganda. However, that revenue is less whatever obligations they have paid where they are working from. Yes. Then for a person who is a non-resident, they are only liable to file tax on revenue they have earned.
So that's a person that is not a Ugandan.
Exactly, that is a person who is not a Ugandan. They're here, they're earning revenue here, so they are subject to submit to file their return and only declare the revenue that has been earned in this country, and their rates actually much higher than what the resident incurs. But for a resident, we are supposed to aggregate all your sources of income. However, we also keep in mind that we know that revenue has been taxed elsewhere, so we take that off before that is subjected to tax here in Uganda. Yes.
So then comes another question.
Yes.
Who should pay income tax?
Now, I believe that as long as, because income tax, like I said, of course, we have individuals, we have companies, Yes, of course, individuals come off as employees, but also we have individuals who are into sole proprietorship.
Nganze.
Yes.
Nekolera jange.
So under individuals who are employees, we have what we call a threshold.
Yeah.
If a person is earning below 235,
Per month.
you're not liable to any tax.
Income.
Yes, that is a person who is now in employment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if a person who is a sole proprietorship, we always categorize those under, there is what they call presumptive tax. For those that don't have business records, and it has also threshold under which these people, you find that if a person is earning revenue who has a turnover that is below 10 million, those are not liable for any tax. Then if you go 10 million and above, there are different ranges who are these individuals.
So if someone makes between 10 to 15, what's the threshold?
It could be like 1%
of that money
that they have made.
That's about 100.
But usually what I advise people to do is that, you see, sometimes you're actually making revenue and you're making money, but you're not actually making money.
Yeah.
What do I mean? That your inflows and outflows, they're literally the same. So I am of a view that I always encourage people to, maintain proper records in their system, such that you're able to proper self-evaluate yourself, because at the end of the day, you find that you actually have no tax to pay. If you've properly evaluated yourself.
In 2025, I will not have tax to pay. I think I will not have.
Yeah, so we fall, taxpayers fall in that category. Employees, sole proprietorship, and then we have
sole
corporations.
proprietorship means they are registered for something. But what if they are not registered?
And now, of course, this is...
Like their businesses are not registered, but they make money. So should they pay income tax?
I'm thinking that, Arthur, you're going to kill me for this, but I want people to be patriotic about their country. But also, depending on how far you want to go in business and the kind of money you want to make and who you deal with, I really recommend people to be compliant and pay their taxes from inception. Immediately they file. You register a business, and sometimes you actually don't have to make money, but fulfill the fact of filing and ensure that the taxman is seeing that your business is compliant with the tax filing. Like I said, it doesn't have to be that you've made some money.
You can tell them I did not make any money. Yes, you can
tell them that I didn't make money, or I'm operating in a loss.
Okay.
Such that because...
Just a minute.
Yes.
Just make sure you can prove that you didn't make any money. Otherwise, you'll tell URA that I did not make any money, then they'll come and say, but you made it here and here and here.
Because where we get it wrong is when we deal with corporations, because I know who people, you say Abayiribi.
Yes.
Sometimes Abayiribi downtown, they actually deal with big corporations, and some of these corporations actually withhold tax on them. So once they've withheld tax on you, there is evidence on the system that you actually made this kind of money.
Yeah.
And then for you're saying you did not make this money. So this is where we begin to see assessments, unnecessary assessments, and penalties coming up on the tin, and you're asking yourself, where did this come from? Someone elsewhere has already declared on their tin that they actually gave you money, and for you're saying you did not receive any money. So we really have to be careful on how we really evaluate ourselves when it comes to taxes.
So before I go to the other question,
what I would recommend businesses is that when you start a business, register it, get a TIN number, get your trading license, like have everything in order and do the right thing.
Are you saying this because you make money either way?
No,
because
like I said,
we cannot file returns without accountants.
It's really very painful for a taxman to think on your behalf, because usually when they do the estimation themselves, it's not actually fair. because they would see that Arthur, maybe you registered your business in this period, and for you have the excuse, I've not been making money, that is why I was not filing, and it's genuine. But for them, they will know, okay, you've been in the industry for this long. We expect that by this period you should have been making such money, and they will raise a huge assessment that could affect your business in a very bad way. And that is why we have the option of self-assessment. So if you know that I've not performed well, it's very okay for you to show URA that I've not actually performed well. So I recommend businesses to comply from the very word go.
Ate abantu ba bulijjo.
Even abantu ba bulijjo, when you say abantu ba bulijjo,
no companies, just me, Arthur, I'm living my life. I made some company, inspections are for the love of cars.
Like I said, once you assess yourself and you see how much you're making your annual turnover.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you're below a particular amount, there is when you're not supposed to pay tax. But it doesn't stop you from declaring.
This year I paid tax. I was not supposed to pay tax. I wasn't supposed to pay tax.
Yeah, so depending on the range where you fall, you actually find yourself, you might not be, it's not necessary for you to pay tax. However, you fulfill the fact of showing that yes,
exists.
Exactly.
And someone asked, how do they file returns?
Like returns, we have monthly returns, and then we have returns that are filed at the end of a financial year. When I talk about a financial year, it's a 12 months period, and people have different financial years. There are those that run from January to December. It means you have a period of 6 months to prepare your financials, your records, and then you file your return by the 30th of June of the next year. We have those that run from, did you get that?
No.
Okay.
I'm sure they did not. They're like me.
What I meant by that is that we have people whose financial year runs from January to December.
Yes.
The taxman gives us a period of 6 months to put our records in order and file our taxes within the 6 months, which end.
Wait. So if my financial year runs from January to December.
Yes.
So I let my year run January to December. Then I can tell URA between December and the next June that, you know what, this is how I performed.
This is how I performed. Once you go by the 30th of June, now you have entered into a phase of being penalized because they give you a period of 6 months. Then we have returns we file on a monthly basis. That is VAT, that is WHT. I hope they get it.
Withholding tax. Yes.
We have pay as you earn. We have what we call excise duty. There are those that have stamp duty. You know, that we are supposed to file on a monthly basis, and usually that we file by the 15th of every month.
Yeah.
So how we file the return is that right now we have the system is changing. We have returns that are web based. However, we also have returns that we upload. They are files that we generate from the system, populating our information, validate, and then upload back into the system. Yes.
Now the question is, there is this thing that URA says.
Yes.
I don't know if they are trying to penalize us. They do with income tax. You do the first income tax, then you do the second income tax.
Okay, now usually that is about, we have what we call provisional tax. URA expects businesses to forecast and see how you're going to perform in a particular financial year. And that is usually done when you are closing, when you're filing your return, when you're closing your financial year actually. Do you get what I'm saying? Like when you're filing your return for that year that you have closed, you should be able to assess and anticipate your anticipation of how you perform in the coming financial year. So usually what happens is that the taxman allows us to, you can forecast for the first 6 months, which is the first return that you put in. Then once you see how the 6 months have unfolded in terms of how you have earned revenue, you are allowed to go back and amend your return and say, you know what, I anticipate that the year will run like this. And that is the second return that we are talking about. So as you close in your second return of it, that is usually put in, okay, what I usually encourage people is that when the financial year is closing, like I said, if it's running from June to December,
Yes.
then you should be able to change your provision that you put in, such that when you put in the final return, it augurs well with your provisional return to avoid what we call the provisional penalty for an under provision. Yes.
What is under provision?
Now, under provision is when you under assessed yourself. What do I mean by that? If you've said that in this year I anticipate that I'll maybe earn revenue of 10 million,
Yes.
and then the financial year closes when you have closed at 20, you underestimated yourself. So usually that comes with a penalty.
Why? These guys expect that for us we are God. We are going to say.
Arthur, that is why I really advise people to work with people who understand to avoid some of these, because like they say, the law, ignorance doesn't what?
But then, you are now. How do you tell me that I'm under providing?
Yeah, under providing.
I expect to make 10 million, and then I prayed enough, and then God gives me 20. Why are you penalizing me? Did I have the customers on reserve?
Yeah, I know you didn't have the customers on the reserve, but I mean that is the law.
The law? This is why you guys. This is why we need to go to Parliament. We need to go to Parliament and deal with this law. You cannot tell me that I expect to make 10 million, and surprisingly business works out and I make 20. Then you decide to steal from me because that's theft. Yes, that's theft.
I don't think it's really theft.
What do you think?
We really need to plan well as a business. Where we cannot do some of these functions, let's hire people to do them, or have someone on the side who can.
Okay, in this situation, what would you do as a professional? I expect to make 10 million. But I also know, I expect to make 10 million. But I also know that there are chances I'll make 20. But I don't want to tell you that I may make 20 and then make 10. Because then you're being auditors.
Then
what do you expect
I
advice
think we are really falling short on compliance here. And that is why I said it's always good to work with a professional that understands this kind of things. Like I said, you see, even with provisional, that when you see this, how if you provide and say this is how I anticipate, by the close of the financial year, you should have seen the actual position of your business.
Yes.
So once you have seen that, then you go back and amend your because it has given you that liberty to go back and amend your return and show.
So the provisions are in the middle of the year.
Yes.
Then you amend.
At the close of the financial
year. What should I do in this situation? So if I make 20, I just tell them I made 10 because I said in the provisionals I'll make 10?
No, it's not that way because it has a percentage with which you have underprovided.
So if I
what I'm trying to say is that when you make a provision in the system, if you're really keeping good track of how you're performing as a business, by the time you close the financial year, you should be able to see the actual position you are in, to allow you go back and say, you know what, let's change this to avoid this from happening. So for me, I feel it comes with proper planning, proper tracking of your records, and then also...
We don't have records.
And
we don't have records.
Knowing that there are deadlines that we have to adhere to. If we don't do, then they catch up with us.
No, all that is no problem. For me, my issue here is... I think I'm going to make 10 million. And then along the way, we get a deal and we make 50. Why are you penalizing me? So should we refuse the deal because you are going to penalize us?
We shouldn't refuse it because all this happens in the financial year.
Yes, but it happens. You see what? In June, I've told you I expect to make 10 million. And that's what I expect normally.
Yes.
Then I get a deal of 50.
Which is okay, because you still have until December to amend the situation.
Yes, and I amend and then they penalize me. That's what you say.
No. During amendment, they don't penalize.
When do they penalize?
Being penalized comes in after you have put in your final return.
Huh. Katudeyo.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Katudeyo.
Because
what are the provisional returns? What are the amended returns?
Have you gotten what I'm saying?
So I can amend any time.
No, okay.
Yes.
Amendment also has to happen with knowledge.
No problem. But if in the provision was in let's say June, I said I'll make 10, and then I get a deal in July, I can amend in July.
You can amend in July.
So that I don't get penalized.
Yes, but however, I always advise people to close at the dot when we are closing the financial year.
And that's when we get penalized, you have said.
No. Penalize, you see, closing the financial year and putting in your return are different. Do you get what I'm saying?
No.
Closing a financial year, it means that your financial, because if I've said January, close your if you have January to December, it means your financial year closes in December.
Yes. So when do I do provisionals in June,
and
I tell them I expect to make 10 million.
Because if, again, like you see, if the time you do your income tax, you've already moved 6 months into another financial year. I don't know if I'm being understood.
So my financial year runs from January to December. So, and in December, I did the final returns for the previous year.
Wait,
when I did the final returns of the previous year, yes.
If your financial year is running from January to December,
yes, yes,
it means you have from January to June to file for the previous.
Let me tell you in the layman's language.
Okay.
You're saying it in the accountant's way. So my year runs from January to December, and this is 2025.
Yes.
So in December 2024, I did final returns for December for 2024. Do I do provisionals in December?
The time you put in now your tax, the time you file your return of what has happened in the year that you have closed.
Yeah, we have done it in December, for example.
Exactly.
So now, in January, I can do provisionals.
Okay, now you're confusing things here, Arthur. If we are talking about a return being filed in December, it means your financial year runs from July to June. Do you get what I'm saying?
People, do you get it? You mabali ku camera.
So if your financial year is from July to June, it means you have until 31st of December to file for that financial year. So the provision you're putting in, because if you're filing by 31st of December, it means you have already moved into 6 months of another financial year. Did you get what I'm saying?
If my year runs from January to December, when do I do provisionals?
If it runs, you do them by the 30th of June of the next year. Yes. So when you're closing December, because now you have seen how the year has performed, then you're allowed to amend that provision to put in exactly the position of how you have performed.
So guys, the issue of when we file returns, how we file returns, currently I think we should leave them to the Justins. So you call Justin and say, okay, when do we file returns now? She tells you now, then you go file.
Yeah, but like Arthur, just slight, its returns are filed on a monthly. We have those that we file on a monthly.
Like VAT.
Yes, and those that we file on an annual basis.
Yes.
Yes. But however, we also know that there are people who are in the gaming that don't even wait for the month to get done.
Yes.
Yeah, so it depends really on the line of business that you are in and what exactly applies.
But until you can actually give us a session where you're just telling us when do you file, how do you file, which I think for now we should let the Justins handle those things because like I see the sound person omutwe gwetoloola, I see the camera person omutwe gwetoloola, ngate twogera bintu bye tutamanyi June, July, December. So for now, who asked this question? The person that asked this question was, how do we file returns? I think for now, this was Rahim Kaiwa. How to file yearly income tax. I will not be on a confusion, but for now, you should call the Justins to do that thing for you. I have another question. You answered when should people pay income tax. The other question is, does URA or government have tax relief for small businesses? And if yes, what are the circumstances?
Sorry to disappoint you. Unfortunately, we don't have tax relief for small business.
What is a small business?
Unless if you are in the line that is exempt for taxes. When you talk about being exempt for taxes, we are looking at things to do with probably dealing in products for people with disabilities, looking about, medical facilities. If you have a clinic somewhere that you're running,
You don't pay tax.
that one you might not pay tax.
Which taxes don't I pay? Because I start a
like
clinic.
all the taxes you don't pay tax.
Not income tax even.
Not income tax.
Hey!
Even, because those are exempt business.
Mweba guy. Tetugenda kukola clinic tuzimale. What other business? What other business? N'okuleeta obugaali bw'abalema. Obugaali bw'abalema. These guys that sell us glasses also don't pay tax.
Now, like I said,
Hey.
we really need to
Because this is like a clinic.
No. We have to look at the line where this business falls for you to say that, okay, I'm exempt from this kind of tax. Some of them are not, okay, they are VAT exempt.
Yes.
But you find that in terms of import duty, okay, it could also be exempt on the equipment that they bring in.
Yes.
And then in terms of income tax that you find, depending on really
We need to get a session where you tell us which businesses
So
don't
that
pay
one,
tax.
I can tell you exactly which one is fully exempt from the income tax.
And we'll get a session where she tells us just the businesses we can do and not pay
in
tax.
In terms of tax exemptions for small businesses,
there is none. And what business qualifies to not be a small business? So that because some of these people were bad.
What business qualifies not to be a small business? I didn't get that, Arthur. Can you ask
Like
again?
how much capital makes me a small business and how much capital makes me a big business?
A big business, okay.
Yes.
Well, in taxation, I believe businesses fall in small, medium, and then the big. You get. So small, literally small, like your turnover is like, okay, 20 and below. But also your
Can I cook the books to make it be small?
Arthur, I'm for compliance.
I know you're totally for compliance, but you know what can happen? Off the record. Yes, we are recording, but it's off the record. Do people, okay, don't say can. Do people cook the books and make their businesses
definitely.
small?
You see, we have what we call tax avoidance and we have tax evasion.
Avoidance is legal.
And people are doing these things. None of those is good if
but
you are
which
caught.
one is illegal?
You get. Of course, evasion is very bad.
Evasion is not paying.
But however, even avoidance, if you are caught, it's also very bad.
But it's not illegal.
Please don't.
But it's not illegal.
Don't put me in that
Okay,
position.
which one is legal?
Arthur, we are not here for legal, or let people pay.
No, according to no, you're not a lawyer, you are an accountant, but you know that people do this and you can't touch them.
Of course, people avoid taxes, but evasion is way of.
What is avoid? How can I avoid some taxes?
Avoiding is when you're creative with your
books.
With your books. Because then you're avoiding.
What are some of the things that people do?
Arthur, we are not here to talk about.
Because you have audited, right? Have you audited
course,
before? Because if you have audited, then you would know.
People will overstate their expenses and understate their revenues.
That's something I can
Then
never
avoidance is when you completely, refuse to pay tax.
That's evasion.
Yes, yet you're actually doing business and you're earning revenue in this market.
So avoidance is Obamu EDB.
Creative, what we call creative accounting.
Even government agencies are creative. They avoid tax. Then he has another question: is what's the optimal personal finance personal finance budgeting plan for couples?
Optimal, in terms of business, in terms of
like
family
home,
finances.
like me and you, we are husband and wife, and we make money. Should we say sente yomukazi ya mukazi yomusajja yaffe? What's the best way to handle
I
that?
think when it comes to healthy families, healthy couples that plan their finances together, I would be overview that we actually look at home as a business. That more like a partnership. Yeah. That we are bringing this money together, we are plan for it, and also are keen on where this money goes.
What about Eva?
Do you get what I'm saying? Usually why people do, I'm not of Sente Yachikazi, because usually, like I said, people who have healthy relationships, because then I don't believe that there is nothing to hide from. Yeah. And also it comes with because it comes also with the level of exposure and also trust and integrity issues when it comes to money between couples. And also management of these finances, because some couples, there is one who knows how to manage finances and then there is another who doesn't. So if there is one of you on the team and also the other trusts in them to manage these finances, I would be overview that we plan for our finances together. Know that this is how much we bring in, this is how we plan to spend it out, and this is what we save and put here and do this and do that. So being able to track all this at the end of the period, I really believe it's really fulfilling. And budgeting is really, it's such a beautiful tool because first of all, it keeps you accountable, but also it's amazing when you know that this is the path where money has gone. Because money is funny. It can come and go and you don't know how you have even used it.
True.
But you see, if you have laid down a plan, how this money is going to actually move. Trust me, when that money comes, it will go where it's supposed to be. And that is the beauty of planning for any organization. And that is why you see that corporations that have mastered the tool, before they actually move into another financial year, they have already planned for it. They know this is how much we are going to get in terms of revenue, this is how much we plan to pay out for salaries, this is how much we plan to spend on A, B, C, and D. And trust me, expenditure has to be in line with what has been planned. So as couples, if we say that maybe the man has this that is bringing in this, the woman has this is bringing in this, and we put it together. If this is for investment, if this is for saving, if this is for taking care of home, and you stick to that plan, trust me, your finances are going to be healthy.
Then this is on a personal note. Because we are talking about couples. Does your husband have access to your phone?
Yes, he does.
Do you have access to his phone?
Yes, I do.
How does
but
that?
why?
Because we are talking about couples.
How does that connect to the finances?
We are talking about couples.
Yes, he does. He does.
How do you advise in terms of phones?
Like I said, really, if our bodies are open, if we share the bodies, why should we?
Then
why should we hide our phones?
At
the moment, the set that I am in, of course, I'm a driver who is I'm learning, and like I said, that usually on the team, there is when you know someone is still struggling with some things, and it takes a bit of time. So this is where patience comes in. In some of these areas.
Have you knocked before?
Yes, I did, but
what did you knock?
I knocked a taxi.
And how much did you spend?
No, I didn't. It was just a slight.
So the taxi guy let you go.
The guy just let me go.
What's your dream car? What's your dream car?
Well, at the moment, I think I would want to have. I was looking at a Noah until you changed my whole. Yeah, but I think I love big cars. You love, and it's one of they call it Alphard.
Yes, Alphard. Yeah.
Yes. I'm looking at the Noah and that.
You want to be up there?
Yes, I want a big car. But also, I think I really love. There is that Nissan, the big one, X-Trail.
Baganda bangi. Abakazi wetu batukozesa ensobi ne tubona abone waka. Baganda Nissan X-Trail. Why do you want the Nissan X-Trail?
Because I like I said, I love big cars, but it also looks good.
It looks good.
Yeah.
Then let's go to the last question. Vianney K is asking, what are your top 5 small businesses that you have noticed never go out of style since inception?
Well, since inception, like I said, at the people who are in would call them the basic needs, like food, transport.
Bottom of the pyramid.
Yes, bottom of the pyramid. Any business that is set in those lines: food, clothing, transport, medicine. Those lines, those kind of businesses really never go wrong. So if you ask me, anyone who is in transport, anyone who is in food and beverages, anyone who is in hairdressing is also not actually. I see it's picking up. Anyone who is into the medical world, because people will always need medical treatment.
They will always get sick. I think that's the best way to put it.
And then of course people who would do the general trading, like the the first consumer moving goods.
Yes.
You know, soda, sijui bread, those things. Because all those cut across those lines. They never go wrong. However, yes, it's not about starting these businesses. What really sustains these businesses? And this is what we've been talking about. That keeping yourself in check, proper record keeping, complying with the different, authorities, managing, budgeting that we are talking about, planning for your expenses. You make sure that your inflows are more than what you're actually incurring in terms of expenses. Creating systems in place to see that you sustain whatever it is that you have planned for. So I believe that is why some people will come into those some lines of businesses and stay, and others will not stay. And we've seen like some of the big corporations come into this market and they do not make it here. Why? Because they have all these huge costs choking them compared to what they're actually getting out of the market. Yes, so there is need to ensure that we manage our expenses well vis-a-vis the revenue that we are earning as a business. So why would you have a startup capital of 10 million and you go to rent a space at Akasha Mall? Definitely that business is not going to survive. So you really need to do a serious analysis of your business before you start it and where you're putting it. Of course, there are factors that also affect. Is it really strategically located? Where you have put the service, do people need it?
So it does not matter whether, like clinics, like people always fall sick. But if you put a clinic in a place that doesn't have a lot of people,
you'll still not make it. So there are factors that we also have to put into consideration as we start these businesses.
Well, thank you very much for giving us the time. I hope we again meet next time, where we are either talking about that income filing, which I did not understand. I'm sure many of them did not, and probably talking about the businesses that don't pay tax.
Okay.
For now, I'm going to be doing the survey on the clinics because it seems like clinics are one of the like that's why we have so many. And drug shops, do they pay tax? Drug shops?
The drugs
sell Panadol, those things like that.
They should.
Which tax?
Income tax, of course. Now, of course, like I said, Arthur, the taxes might come in the exemption of maybe not being vatable, that even if you cross the threshold, that
money
does not apply to you because the line of business that you're in is VAT exempt. However, if you're dealing with a clinic and you have staff that you're paying, you're supposed to pay for them pay as you earn. You're supposed to pay withholding tax on the consultants that you have. Yes, so the exemptions might not cut across everything because there are taxes that apply, then there are those that do not apply.
We shall
because
get that.
You could be starting a clinic and you have really this heavy duty equipment that you have to import. And you find that there are certain taxes that you are exempt from. Yes.
Kari. Thank you very much, Justin, for taking the time to be with us. And guys, I'm going to put out another post. If you have more questions for her, we can always get her back. Of course, she's a married woman. We now, after talking to her, we have to talk to the husband to get her here. But I'll put a post, and you guys can always ask your questions. Of course, I'll have to show have his husband evidence that, Mister, these are the questions she's going to answer. And of course, now she's in a studio with all these people. So the husband, obviously. So let's get into the other segments of the show. Jump. If you're feeling good. This week's comparison. This is a question I get a lot. Toyota Wish or Toyota Nua? I'm going to be comparing the 2010 models. And this is what I have for you. Now, both these cars are MPVs, or as they multi-purpose vehicles. They can function as vehicles everyday drive, or they can be commercial vehicles, or you can use them to carry stuff. Now, the Toyota Wish is compact. It will have between 5, normally 7 people. You have then Waba that's 5 and 6. And normally it's wider. You can take actually 3, depending on the license also that you have. But the newer will take between 7 and 8 people, depending on the license you have and how the seats are arranged. Now, who should drive the Wish and who should drive the newer? The biggest difference is this. Some Toyota Wish come with a 1.8 liter engine, yet all the Nuas come with a 2 liter engine. Now, they are all valvematic engine, but that's the difference. But you need to know that some Wishes come with a 3ZR engine, which is a 2 liter. Okay, so as you're buying, if you're buying your normal everyday drive, you should buy the 1.8 liter Wish that is 1.8 liters. And if you're buying a Wish for commercial, buy the 2 liter 3ZR. That will work for you. Now, if you want a car that looks sporty, that looks nice, the Wish definitely looks better than the Noah. It's sporty, it has better aerodynamics, and that also speaks for the fuel efficiency, which is between 12 to 15 kilometers per liter. I think a Noah it between 10 to 13 kilometers per liter. So if you're cautious about the fuel consumption, the Wish will definitely do better. Now, probably the other thing would be the horsepower, the power. The Wish is up to 158 horsepower. In a 2 liter. The Noah will give you 143 horsepower. But the 2 liter, why? It's heavier. So the Wish in the 2 liter will be stronger than the Noah with the 2 liter engine. And then, of course, you have to think about things like headroom, extra leg room. The Noah will definitely give you more leg room. And then cargo space. Noah will definitely get more space in the trunk. So I tell Wish, if you put all these passengers that are supposed to go there, the trunk will definitely give you less. And then, of course, the Wish will definitely be cheaper if you're buying cheaper than the Noah. If you're buying the Noah at the same price as the Wish, the Noah has a problem, or the Noah is a lower grade of a car if they impede. And then the Wish will definitely be cheaper to maintain than the Noah. Now, the verdict is, if you have a small family, you don't wish to use the car for commercial and you're cautious about fuel consumption, go for the Wish. And if you don't care about fuel consumption and probably you also have huge families, or go for the Noah. Car tip of the week. You know how we have a lot of traffic jam in Kampala? You're stopped in Gayaza, you're stopped in Nigeria, the president is passing Nebaba Quarter for hours, or sometimes it's just moving like roundabout, it moves smoothly. The question has always been, should I turn off my engine or should I let it run continuously? Now, this is a question that everyone answers their own way. This is what I think. Now, let's first leave the modern vehicles that have start and stop technology. Because some of the cars, like the hybrids, the engine will go off and you'll stay on the battery. And some other cars are not even hybrids, they'll just turn off the engine when like the car is not running. And then when you step the accelerator, it goes. Now, such cars, you don't need to stop your engine. It will stop automatically when you're in traffic. Now, let's talk about our cars, Busienta, those cars that literally don't have that technology, the Wishes, the Noah. What do you do? Now, in traffic where you can predict that it's going to last for a longer period of time, you're going to be in traffic for like 30 minutes, an hour, definitely turn off your engine. Why? Your engine will be running in traffic jam, there's incomplete combustion. Because it will definitely harm your engine in one way or another. It will harm efficiency over time. But if you're in the kind of traffic that moves every couple of seconds, then definitely you need to not turn off your engine. You keep it running. When they let traffic go, you move. When they hold, you hold. And then there are people that are just addicted to AC like me. I'm addicted to AC. I rarely turn off my engine. Or kujako, there is a lot of traffic that is not moving. So now the question is going to be, how long are you going to be driving your car? If you're the kind of person that wants to drive your car for 5 to 10 years, definitely turn off your engine when the traffic is long and then start on. Now, what are the downsides of you turning off your engine? Your battery gets weaker, your self-starter gets weaker, and then of course, it's also might harm your ignition switch. Push to start. That's why sometimes they will tell you, don't turn off your engine. Now, the downside of you not turning off the engine, you harm the environment because your engine also gets damaged in the long run. But this should be a thing of judgment. And you guys are now buying 2015 models, 2020 models. You may not even need to turn off your engine at any one moment because it does it automatically. Thank you very much for being part of this week's episode of the Car Weekly Roundup. Today is the 4th, only 4 days into January. I hope we are doing a good job. I'll see you next Saturday.